In the golden age of kickboxing, there was a sudden death elimination tournament, where 16 masters from all different backgrounds and styles came together to test themselves for honor and for glory. This was the legendary K1 Grand Pri, where the best talent all fought multiple times in one night to determine who was truly the greatest in the world. We began in the epic 1997 Grand Pri, where 11 of the 15 fights ended by KO. Peter Aerts was a Dutch kickboxer who had already won the Grand Prix once before. He used angled footwork to set up his versatile rear leg roundhouse kick. Nicknamed the Lumberjack, Aerts had felled many heavyweights by chopping them down until they toppled to the canvas. James Waring was a former kickboxing champion, as well as a former boxing champion. His punching power could end the fight in an instant, just like Aerts' kicks. What this meant was that this was a fight where anything could happen at any moment. Aerts went for the traditional gesture of respect by tapping gloves, but Waring showed himself to be a man of no honor, pulling down Aerts' glove to clear way for a huge overhand right. This was such a blatant sign of bad sportsmanship that Aerts was caught completely unaware. But years of drilling and sparring kicked in. Aerts wisely secured an overhook and collar tie, then walked himself back to the center of the ring. Meanwhile, Waring threw a barrage of rabbit punches. The ref separated them and issued a warning. The fight resumed, and Waring moved in with kick feints, hopping forward with a chambered leg. Aerts attempted to kick past the obstacle to Waring's back leg, but only just skimmed it. Waring's next attack was a jab. Unlike his last technique, Aerts clearly knew how to deal with the jab. So, Waring again pressed forward with the chambered leg, but this time, Aerts had a better plan. He waited until Waring inevitably had to put his lead leg back down, then connected with the hard rear leg roundhouse kick. There's an old saying, once you find something that works, keep using it. So Aerts now timed all of his attacks to when Waring dropped his chambered leg, adding on head and body punches as well. 2 minutes in, and Waring was forced to completely abandon his favorite way of initiating exchanges. For his part, Aerts was content to pick at Waring from long range, so Waring tried to close the distance with his jab. But Aerts was excellent at moving off angle to counterpunch. Or he could stay put and drive Waring into hard body knees. Waring's offense now shut down, Aerts was content to simply work roundhouse kicks off of his jab, varying high and low attacks. The bell sounded the end of the first, and it was clear that Waring would have to change tactics if he hoped to get the best of Aerts. But aside from an admittedly beautiful counter that Waring landed off of an intense exchange, round 2 was again dominant for Aerts. Aerts showed an incredible fight IQ, building off of the counters he had been landing off of Waring's jab. Aerts would add on a large sidestep to his intercepting jabs and hooks. This both moved his head off angle and loaded up his rear kicks with more power. He would also slip to the outside and establish a collar tie, driving Waring into a hard knee. He also timed intercepting lead leg body kicks, a classic counter to the jab. Anytime the two came into close range, Aerts clinched to land knees, although one of these attempts almost sent him over the ropes. But 2 dominant rounds were not adequate compensation for the disrespect that Waring had shown at the start of the first. Aerts wanted a knockout. Meanwhile, Waring must have realized he'd lost 2 rounds in a row. He would need a knockout if he hoped to win the fight. As such, he came out aggressive for round 3. But Aerts was able to land many of the same tactics from round 2, only much harder. He decided it was time to try and finish the fight. Aerts slid back from Waring's hook, seamlessly blending an L-step into a counter leg kick. Then, while Waring was thinking low, Aerts went high, suddenly hopping off his support leg and raising his knee at the very last moment. The kick connected perfectly. And Aerts walked away from the knockdown like an action hero from an explosion, never once looking back. Stay tuned as we cover the other noteworthy fights from the 97 K1 Grand Prix. I'd like to give a huge thanks to Glory Kickboxing for providing me with this content. If you want to watch the best kickboxing in the world, then watch Glory 80 on March 19th. There will be 2 title fights on the line, and we get to see if Hari can avenge his recent, shocking loss against Verjosic. You can purchase the pay-per-view in the link in the description. From the Modern Martial Artist, this has been David Christian, wishing you happy training.